Amanda.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Steins Gate 0, Season 1, Episode 9. Last episode was fantastic. It was my favorite episode of Steins Gate 0 so far. It was awesome. I loved it. It was emotional and perfect.
And it's just going to probably continue to be emotional and perfect. I have no doubts for this series.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I don't know how many episodes are in Steins Gate 0. And part of me wants to say after last episode, that's like the final push we needed to get into the headspace that would lead us inevitably to recording, the video at the end of the series. But because it's only episode 9, part of me doubts that and thinks, okay, well, there could be more pain to come. And I don't like feeling pain, but Steins Gate pain is different. That's where I'm at.
I think that pointing out what number episode we're on is a total valid thing to point out. I hadn't really thought about that. I would think that this is probably around 23 episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, episode 9, what pivotal things are you really going to do in terms of the narrative and the story around episode 9?
We gotta find who is meddling with time travel. That's our next checkpoint. Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Why is he at the hospital?
よかったよかと思ったぜ倒れたで俺と中瀬さんが本当に焦ったのだぜ世界線に戻ってきたのか
Ah, apple juice. I love apple juice.
マキセ・クリスマキセ・クリスを知ってるか
知ってるよ兵隊さんの中にいる人だよねブスだっけ
そういえばアマデウスは
乗っ取りは防いで
どうかしたのか
There was a takeover.
A thief broke into Maho's room. Oh?
仕掛けたって可能性が高いか犯人の心当たりはこの前襲ってきた連中なのか
気がついたんですね熱は下がった全然オカリンさんももう元気そうの可能性がとか言ってるんですけど流行ってるんだって同じタイミングで倒れたのかしらね
She was the one that works.
Does she have like a reading Steiner type thing?
Maybe. The dream.
私はフェイリスさんのカフェにいるのね。そこにオカリンさんが来て。
アルファ世界線の記憶。リーディングしたいな。
What the fuck?
岡部さん。さっきクリスの名前を。
いや、ちょっとな。夢を見ていたんだ。
夢？そういえば橋田さんはね、ちょっと用事があるから先に行くって。うん。オカリンはどこにも異常なかったから。おじさんたちが襲撃されて、同時に倒れて。 気が戻った時の様子は変わった様子はなかったけど前言ってたマキセ氏の後で連絡するね
I want us to tell Maho. I really want that.
ホテルに泥棒は入るわぼや騒ぎはあるわで口にしてないわね
This is the time to get closer. She's not gonna want to go back to her room.
All we have here is fried chicken and bananas. I'm glad the bananas are still here.
戻るの教授にも同じこと言われたもう当てがあるわけじゃないし
Here!
ここは何それは悪いわ
She's a little scared to go back.
Interesting. I love like the bitmojis, right?
オカリンお客さん
いつの間に
Of course.
Aww.
Why does she have a Suzuha emoji?
I love it.
They are talking. Oh. Yep.
俺はこの世界線を マユリが殺されない世界線を守る。タイムマシンを使わず守るんだ。それがあいつの願いでもあるはずだ。それしかついては一度預けてくれないか。心当たりがある。
でうちに来たのかにゃ。
ああ、ここに滞在させてもらう。
Yes,
Good idea.
perfectly safe.
話になってな。
出るのは分かってるから。フェリスは全く問題なしにゃ。から言ったでしょ。フェリスちゃんは絶対いいって言って
She's
くれる。
very helpful.
奥といいにゃ。数日と言わずマホニャが
Stay forever.
でも安全にゃ。ささこっちにゃ。
とりあえず撃てる手は撃った。犯人とその目的が分かれば。鈴葉。
Whoa.
鈴葉。
Suzuha has made camouflage?
こんなところに呼び出しちゃって。
Suzuha
That's
lives
okay.
up here. She has a bed up here or something.
私は何なしの駆け引きとか苦手でさ。当直入に聞かせてもらう。外線は変わってしまったの。今の状況とリーディングシュタイナーの話から。
いてどうする。
私にとってそれはとても大きなことなの。答えて。これは命令だ。岡部倫太郎。
Okay, that definitely changed the pace of this episode.
世界線は変動したのか。
その世界線に移動したのは事実だが、見戻ったはずだ。
やっぱり変動はあった。
原因は俺には分からない。
地震、ロシアのあれは核実験なんかじゃない。タイムマシン開発競争。
Interesting.
そしてずれる第三次世界大戦の始まり。
ロシアとアメリカ。
トンツーか言い方はフォネティックコードだ。
なんでいる場合じゃなかった。もう猶予なん
つもりだ。
私と一緒に7月28
拒否したら。
拒否なんかさせない。タイムマシンの実験は始まっているんだ。そしてシュタインズゲートへの道が閉ざされたら。
もう閉ざされてるとしたら、世界線を選ぶしかないのだとしたら、あったことにしていいのか。
うるさい。次は当てる。
She takes her mission really fucking
お願
seriously.
電話レンジカッコ仮を使ってメールを過去に送れ。世界線を変えることに他ならなかった。俺は数多くの思いを踏みにじった。一度起きたことをなかったことにしたんだ。思いと犠牲のもとに俺はやっとこの世界線に立っ。
世界大戦が起きてたくさんの人が死ぬ。それがこの世界線なんだ。
状況が悪くなったらどうする。世界線移動を繰り返した末しか待っていない世界線にたどり着いたらどうする。いることはできても未来を操ることはできないんだ。
鈴葉、こんなことだろうと思ったけど、この銃は何？
もう時間がないんだ。このままじゃ第三次世界。
連れてったからってそれでうまくいくわけ？勉強し始めて分かってきたんだよね。コントロールするってそう簡単じゃない。
しろって。
それを僕らは研究してるということを素直に聞いてほしいのだぜ。絶対に何とかしてみせる。
He'll figure
何しろ僕
something
は
out.
私どうしていいかわかんない。わかんなくなっちゃう。父さん助けて。父さん。
Every day, Suzuha must feel like a failure.
Failure.
変えることはできないのか。
難題ね。全てを不可能だと片付けてしまうのは科学者失格ね。
そう言うよな。お前ならコードを使っている組織というだけでもいいんです。
がってだけで5万とある。
However,
手に名前が出ているようなところがあんな連中を送り越したら表に名前が出てないようなところ、そんなやばいことはやってないこと
Innocent
に
enough
な
on
っ
the surface to not suspect foul play.
そこまで言わせるのかよ。
ダーパ
Jerpa.
国防コード研究会内に作られた軍事研究統括機関の一つ。影の CIA とも呼ばれ、後
The
の
think
大規模
tank?
テロを。この情報を掴んだアメリカはデータを求めてマキセクリスに
Straight
たど
to
り着い
Ma-
た。
Oh, what a shot.
の研究施設はいくらでも調べられるはずじゃない。
They want
わ
Amadeus.
ざわざここまで来。
America wants to be on the same. They want to know what Russia knows.
かがりが狙いだった。彼女が乗ってきたタイムマシンを探している。
でもタイムマシンは見つからないわ。
なぜだ。
開発が未来のタイムマシンをもとに行われれば強力なタイ
となると
真帆さんのお部屋に泥棒さんが。和光のオフィスではガス爆発騒ぎがあって。
僕らの先頭に立って指揮を取ってくれるって信じてるんだよ。
今何時？
すぐ日付が変わるを。
乗ってくれるかな。
ん
タイムマシンに。
時が来たらきっとね。
When the time comes, he will.
動員京馬も復活するわけ。不死鳥の名は伊達じゃないとおつ的な。だって未来が人がいてこそだから。
God, I love Daru so
すごく
much.
恥ずかしいこと言ってるの自覚してる。
ですよね。でも言えないな。
Daru actually came to be a really good father to Suzuha like
お
this.
金おじさんにごめんなさい。もうちょっとあがいてみるって。
手紙プリーズ。写真付きで。
もう燃料がね、バスので何度もタイムマシン使っちゃって。
電池で代用できないの？
服とかに積まれている電池持ってきてもらったけど、で切れちゃった。
Mm.
年の間を1回か2回。
Half a year, maybe once or twice.
もし途中で電池が
エントホライゾンの向こうから永久に戻る。
でもないこと言ったらダメだお。
ヒアジョーさん
She really made herself at home.
どうしたの？
Definitely.
いうことだ。この惨
It's
状
like a
We heard
tornado came
about
through.
this.
Look at all those Red Bulls.
なかなか居心地感だと思う。
まだあと1日だろう。
Jesus.
出歩くのが危険。ここで研究するしか。
That does not explain this.
いや、
タイムマシン理論。
Did he clean up?
あ、おそらくその研究の中にあるクリスの理論あたりはないか。例えばのメモやスタンドアローンのデータから襲撃してきた理由も説明できる。
それはないわ。
そうか。
Her computer.
The paper she wrote would probably be on there.
Okay, that was Steins Gate Zero, Season 1, Episode 9. I feel like this is a really good episode to, like, set up a next arc. It's even weird calling them, like, arcs, but, like, you know, it felt like the first 8 episodes was its own, like, contained mini arc, and now we're, like, taking a step into, like, the next, I don't know, the next arc, the next mini arc.
I am super excited by one thing in particular. I mean, it obviously by lots of things, but one thing in particular has me really excited from this episode we just watched, and it is what happens with Fubuki in this
I
episode.
don't get it, and I am so excited for it.
When I try to start to understand it or think that I may be understanding it, it would go in that direction of now that we've existed a year past Meguri's like death date basically, and she was able to continue to grow her friendships with her cosplay friends, and now they were able to intermingle with her lab friends. These people are becoming and have become over the time since her possible death much more important in her everyday life. Therefore, the impact of her not existing in a world line would be that much stronger
Gotcha.
on their own lives.
Yeah.
And so Fubuki, like, obviously that's a big change from Fubuki's life because she literally becomes so much closer to this person, and to the point where they are one of her best friends, and then you skip to a world line and that best friend has died and now you're working in their job, in their position.
Yeah.
So I would feel like maybe it's like a heart thing, it's a closeness thing, it's a you're switching between these different world lines, and that emotion is still retained somewhat in a dream form throughout.
Interesting. I want to go back to last episode real quick just to look at some stuff. Okay. But in terms of like how they were talking with Fubuki, it was so interesting when they brought up like the romance side of things. I was like not expecting it in the slightest, like it to ever be brought up like that for this character that we know a little bit about, but not anything.
It's funny that when we get more pushy kind of talk about a romance with Okabe, it is neither of the main kind of characters that would be thought of as love interests for him.
Yeah.
Except for the moment when Mayuri's friends kind of say something to her about it.
Yeah.
But then when we get Maho because of Amadeus, you know, kind of forcing that romance narrative. We also have the professor kind of pushing Maho a little bit in that regard. And then now we have Fubuki, this is your soulmate. It's really interesting that there's that doesn't happen with the two characters that are actually more romantically involved with them.
I feel like considering last episode and Fubuki working at the cafe, like I'm gonna just assume that like that's what the reference was. That direct memory or dream was last episode's interaction at the cafe talking about, Mayuri.
I mean, that would fit more into why Fubuki would have this dream if Okabe was having the same dream and he was seeing her in that dream.
Yeah.
That the connection would be that much deeper to both of them passed out.
But her passing out is
why
like
her?
Yeah,
in that moment.
And I guess it's because or I would assume it's because if as long as it's nothing more like, oh, reading Steiner, like there's more to Fubuki, it'd be because like she was one of the closest people who wasn't previously involved within, Steins Gate, and she had such a strong interaction with Ocarine last episode. Also, like having any type of relationship with Kurisu as well, and that, I don't know, showing itself. I'm going to assume they have some type of... We didn't see anything last episode, but
they were in a picture together.
Yeah. So
from when Mayuri was still alive, though. So if Fubuki is more involved in Faris's life, like closer friends with Faris and Ruka and Daru, then why wouldn't Fubuki become better friends with Kurisu in that world line we were just in? Because Kurisu's still at the lab. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had more interactions after that point.
It's just so interesting that, like, she passed out as well. I also wonder, like, how Amane is going to be brought up, like, further, and, like, Amane's involvement within this organization.
I think it's really cool how limited Suzuha's mom, Amane, actually is shown.
Yeah.
We obviously get her kind of not being at the party. She has to go to work. She's not at the party. Then they have a little chit chat with her, and she has an injured arm. But every other interaction that we have with the friends, it's really just the two girls and not her. She's not included. She's very much not a part of this, and for more so than just Suzuha and Daru maybe trying to keep her away, she is not around, and I find that still very suspicious.
How they end up has got to be, like, one of the biggest mysteries in the universe. Because, like, to be honest, though, I love the fact that she's a little more involved within time machines and time travel and the idea of that than you and I think, ever would have guessed. I think we probably just assumed it had nothing at all to deal with, like, the narrative of time travel, time machine, but her being on the other end of that, I could see how that could bring her and Daru closer together.
I really love, as soon as she started talking about and explaining what like AI was, like, oh yeah, like she knew, I was like, okay, I'm liking this girl. I could see that maybe she actually is possibly helpful to Daru and Okabe in their research setting or in figuring things out. We have this scenario for the end of this episode about the battery life for the time machine.
Half a year, once or twice.
And Suzuha has already tried to figure it out. Daru could possibly figure it out, but I like the idea that we have to, at some point, we have to involve some other character to help us figure this out, because we are at a point of loss. Suzuha and Okabe, both of them are like, I don't know what to do. Because if we go to another place, like who's to say that that's not going to be the same or not worse than what we're already in right now. And I think that we need another player or another brain because of what Okabe was able to do for Kurisu and what Amadeus was able to do for Okabe and what Kurisu was able to do for Okabe, what they're able to do for each other. And then here we get Kurisu, almost like he's imaginary friend speaking to her, which is so helpful because it seems like it makes more sense for this character to have someone like that and to envision her in that way, in that role, in his thinking process.
Yeah.
Because he got so far and progressed so far from being able to talk to her about things, especially at the end of Steins Gate.
Yeah.
being able to speak to Kurisu about something was so incredibly helpful that even imagining speaking to her could be incredibly helpful for him. But I do like the idea that some other character maybe needs to have get a little more involved now at the moment.
Potentially Maho.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Steins Gate OG was the conversations towards the end of the series between Okabe and Kurisu. So to bring it back in some sort of way as they did in the park and then in the lab itself was awesome, and I loved it. And I am glad that it's almost like obviously you're not working on trying to get over the loss of somebody at the moment, but rather than thinking about Okabe just like never going around the lab again, trying not to think about her at all, it is a refreshing thing to see this Okabe think about her in that way.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit more because of where we went on the emotional Okabe train over the last now 3 episodes, if we're including the one we just watched.
Yeah.
Where at the very end, on the new very end of 3 episodes ago, we have Okabe kind of coming to terms with himself that Amadeus is not Kurisu, and these feelings that he's having, it is something that he needs to deal with and he needs to separate from, and he cannot be thinking of them as the same, and that's very unhealthy and very hurtful to himself. And then we immediately skip into another world line where we get to see Kurisu. And so then when we wake up here, we're not the same Okabe necessarily. We are the Okabe that ended 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
The one who had realized that he needed to separate his emotions and take away his emotional feelings that he had toward Amadeus that were growing, and remind himself that that wasn't the real her. And to come to that conclusion himself, and then to go into a world line and be reminded even harder, this is the real her.
Yeah.
That is not her, and she's saying that he should not, get too close to Amadeus, reminding him even more so, like, yeah, you're right, that's not me. Don't get too close. Don't put your heart into it.
Yeah.
And so that when he wakes up here in this episode, he's much more aware, focused, driven, not as emotionally impacted as we've seen him lately. It's like he got a really great, refreshing dream of, like, reminder to, like, of his feelings. Like, yeah, I love the real Kurisu. That was the real Kurisu. She and I both want to save Mayuri. I want to ensure here that Mayuri lives.
It was almost like jump-starting like a car battery a little bit, like giving it like a little bit of charge, like a little bit of a push. And it reminds me of what Daru was saying at a certain point in this episode of, Hyoin Kiyoma, like, returning and coming back
like
in full
From
force.
the ashes.
Like a phoenix from the ashes. He'd
Back
never
to
say that to his face.
delusional self.
Yeah, and I love that idea, and I think that if there's anything to put, Okabe back on that path, it would be last episode and that interaction with Kurisu.
I think that's really nice. I mean, it was nice enough. I remember us being really happy that toward the end of 3 episodes ago, he was coming to this kind of awareness himself, and there was a really strong and healthy dialogue that was happening at the end there. And I think as viewers and fans, we were both really pleased to see that happening. But I think that words and being able to work yourself up and motivate yourself to a certain idea, it is awesome. But we are very fickle as a human species.
Yeah.
And the one amount, like, once you build yourself up in motivation, you are like a Jenga tower, like, one wrong block pull and all that motivation you built up within yourself could so easily just fall down.
Agreed.
No matter how, like, strong or healthy you were being, or you think you are, how confident you are in it, emotions are so important to us and tied to us that you don't know what your heart's gonna do.
Yeah.
You can't control what your heart's gonna do. You might try, but you can't. And so I think that having that reinforcement from last episode as a viewer, it makes me feel very stable and secure in the current mental state of Okabe.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about I was going to say Bitmoji, but like emoticons,
The emoticons,
emojis of
they were amazing.
Yeah, they are fantastic. I love them. I had a bit of like a question during it. I was like, okay, is this just a gag and I shouldn't like take it too seriously and I just love it face value? But no, in the Steins Gate like approach, there's much more to it than just, oh, it's fun. It's the application they're using is a Daru application. It's software that Daru has created, so it makes complete sense that he would have integrated personal emojis for each of his friends.
That's so true. I didn't even think about that. And it's really cute because I think the Okabe one's like, okay. And then the Suzuha one, was she like angry or pouty or something?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I love that it makes a lot of sense that Moeka even has that application and uses it, since Moeka and Daru like is that through line.
And it would also make sense that if you're trying to have private conversations about investigations, that you would have Moeka use this texting app that Daru could maybe ensure the safety and integrity of.
Yeah, the Upa in the background. I love it. It's like okay. But I love that Moeka's icon is that of a phone, and also in one of my friends and I's Discord servers, somebody, I don't even know who, somebody at some point got a bunch of like screenshots of thumbnails from the channel and like and put them in as emojis, so it's like surprised Ben,
it's all your
or,
face.
Like, yeah
it
kind of reminds me of that, but this is much better.
Instead of surprised Pikachu, it's surprised Ben's face.
I just feel like we need to get like drawings made instead and have things like this.
Honestly, that it's super cute. I agree with that. I like that. We should use Daru's texting app.
I love Moeka.
It should really exist.
Moeka is like high key one of my favorite characters right now when she shows up. It's so weird seeing her in such a different light in this series as opposed to Steins Gate.
I love what Steins Gate was able to do with creating these, you're blurring the line between villain and antagonist. The antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be the villain of the story. They can do harm and they can do bad things, but sometimes they're easier. The viewer can like them a lot more. Sometimes they're easier to redeem. And Mr. Braun and Moeka are really great examples of the fact that, like, we want the best for them and we want them to live in a world where they can be happy, and Mr. Braun and Neg can be safe, and Moeka can have friends and be able to be in that lab, and not because she has to sneakily be there.
Or tries to kill people, or does kill people.
Or that either of them ever try to kill someone. But it's like we were able to get this feeling and relationship with these characters from Steins Gate while they were being major antagonists and possibly even villains. And we were able to get such a strong emotional tie to them and like for them that we're so happy to have them not be antagonists. Like, they're antagonists in the world because they're still working for CERN, but they're not attacking us right now. They're not antagonizing us right now.
My actual last thing is back to the emoji a little bit. Like the one of Ocarine here is him in his lab coat being like, okay, and like motivated and in character. I imagine that recently Daru's done like a software update where like all the happy ones are Ocarine, right? Like in the white lab coat, and then all like the sad, depressing ones are him in like a black shirt.
Black suit. That I would agree with that. There is one more thing I want to talk about, but I need to take a coughing break real quick. Okay, cool. So that was cool. Okay, so I had one more thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about our feelings about Maho from the end of this episode, and her saying that there's nothing that Kurisu has that she knows of that would have anything to do with research on time machines.
Yeah. I mean, showing us, the Kurisu red hair laptop and account and, K. Makise, like...
We've seen this laptop before. We've seen Maho continuously is trying to input the correct password into it. Why would she be trying to do that is a really great question to ask. Because if I had a friend that died, I wouldn't be like, I need to get into their laptop. Unless I honestly couldn't think of a reason why I would that much feel the need to try to get into their private laptop. So the only place I can go with even thinking like that is she knows there is some type of research or something on there that she either has been told to get access to or desires getting access to for her own motives.
So, like, there's the side of that where it could be, like, malicious, right? Which I don't want to believe. Like, of Maho doing it, like, for, like, a malicious, I'm trying to get this time travel research. Or it's more the line of thinking, like, if I had a friend who died and work was being done with their memories to make an AI with that, like, of what they were kind of like and what their memories were, but there was something uncanny and off about it, then maybe personal information from a laptop could be additional information to put into it to make that person more like they were.
Like, okay, so if I were to, like, become an AI version, there was an AI version of me, and you wanted to take, say, like, my college laptop of every paper I wrote, every art piece I did, every interaction I ever had with teachers or friends or pictures of people, all of that, you know, basically a lot of people, their lives are on their phone or on their laptop. And so much of themselves is there. Private notes they wrote to themselves, reminders of things.
It could add to that actual...
It could add to the AI, you're right. That it could totally make a more authentic replication of Kurisu. But I like that, but I'm also like, there has to be something in terms of the... At least here, I think Maho has a feeling, if not knows, that any time machine related stuff after this interaction and conversation with Okabe, if it exists, it's on there, and she chooses to not tell him that.
That I
Which she
completely
could say,
acknowledge.
It's on here, but I don't know the password. But what's the choice of choosing to keep it from him?
I know. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe. Like, it's not even hard for me to believe it. It's just...
It doesn't have to be malicious.
I know.
To be keeping this from him. Because if we think about it from what Maho has given us since we met Maho, there is a friendship jealousy. There is a jealousy of someone knowing Kurisu better than she did, or being closer to her than Maho was, understanding her better. So I could understand if Maho felt like there was one piece of Kurisu that she still had, so she could learn more and learn and understand Kurisu better, that no one else could have access to. I mean, she has now had to share Amadeus with Okabe.
And also, like, to bring up her asking on the street, like, why did you bring up Kurisu there? Obviously, like, there doesn't need to be anything to it, but pairing that with the information at the end of the episode, she could be active. Like, it could just add more to the active, you know, trying to get into this laptop and thinking about her and trying to get more information from her.
So we could totally have a Maho here where she's keeping her cards close to her. She's not sure how much she wants to share Kurisu with others, but she also doesn't even know what's on here. So she's like, is it even worth telling someone about? So it might be like two things. Is it worth telling someone about when we can't even get into it? Or do I want this private understanding of Kurisu all to myself? I feel like what we're going to have here is probably a Maho that now takes a harder crack at trying to get into this laptop, now knowing that there could be something on it that people are actively searching for and possibly even going to kill for.
I hope it doesn't put Ferris in danger, having the laptop there.
Well, that the choice that we, at the beginning of the episode, are like, oh, where's Maho gonna stay? And we choose Ferris because we think this would be the safest place for her. And then at the end of the episode, we close out seeing that Maho has the thing that they are looking for. He literally says, like, what was in your room? Why would your room be ransacked? Kurisu's laptop. Like, duh. And now you're so right to bring that up. Like, yes, this might have been the safest place for her to be, but that doesn't mean that it's safe from a group of people that have guns. Like,
very true. Judy Reyes, maybe even.
I know that Ferris was like, my butler's pretty kick-ass, but I don't know about a group of people in masks with guns. Like, how he's gonna fare with that.
All right, you good?
I think so, yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.